Welcome to another edition of TM3 IMPACT. I am here with veteran Mario Lopez. Mario, welcome to TM3 IMPACT.
Thank you for letting me be here, Tomas.
Yes, excited to chat, Mario. We had a nice long conversation on the phone. I was like, this should have been the podcast. We had a great conversation. Yep. So I appreciate you being on the podcast. Tell me, we always start off with the first question. Super easy. Tell me your San Antonio story. How did you come to live in the San Antonio or New Braunfels community? Cliff Note version, kind of how did that come to be?
I don't know if I could do a cliff note, but so I got hurt in Afghanistan, and so when I started doing my recovery, I was at BAMSI,
yep,
for a while, and then I had, gotten divorced, and so I was like, should I go back home or should I stay here?
And where was home?
Alice, Texas.
Okay, yeah.
So not too far.
Yeah.
And then I just decided, I met my wife, and then she's like, we're staying here.
That's it. Now, was she from here?
Yeah, she's from San Antonio.
Okay, she's from the San Antonio area.
West side.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So you're injured in Iraq, so let's go back. But prior to that, what even made you join the military? How did that even come about?
Yeah, so let's start from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So, all right. I joined the Army after 9/11.
Okay.
After 9/11. I was junior in high school when it happened.
Okay.
And then when I became a senior, I was like, I'm going.
Yeah.
So I went, and I was there at basic training and everything, and then they had caught Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
And then I went to Iraq in 2005.
Okay. When did you graduate? What year?
2003.
Okay, 2003. Okay.
Yeah. So my unit was already deployed, so they came back, and then
Okay.
so I came back. I went to Iraq 2005.
Okay.
And then I was there for a year and a half. I'm sorry, for a year. Yeah. And I liked
a full year.
A full year.
Wow.
And I already had started a family, so
okay.
So I had, 2 kids, and so I was here for about a year in Iraq, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. Like, some people say that's horrible, but I did.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest. So
yeah,
I liked it.
And your MOS was driving?
I was a truck driver.
Truck driver. Okay, yes.
88 Mike.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And so I was there, and I was actually stationed at Fort Hood.
Yeah.
In Texas, Fort Hood, Texas. Well, they call it something else now.
Yeah.
Cavazos, Fort Cavazos
okay.
now. But I think they're going to change it back to Fort Hood. But I was at Fort Hood for my whole military career.
Okay.
And then I was there for a year and a half. And then they said, you're going back to Afghanistan. So
this was 2008?
2008.
Okay, got it. Okay.
So I was there 2008. And I hated Afghanistan. I hated it. Yeah.
Totally different than Iraq?
Totally different. Everything changed. And standard operating procedures. I mean, everything changed.
What was the biggest difference you feel like with Iraq? I mean, was it strictly location, culturally, or just the way everything was run?
Well,
or the mission itself?
Yeah, I would say the mission. I would say we're transitioning for like a new president or something. And
okay.
So I think they're dialing everything back and trying to make everything PC or something, and politically correct and all that. So in Iraq we did our missions during the day. We did our missions at night.
Yeah.
And so we could see everything, and then Afghanistan we're doing during the day.
Ooh. And
then there are sandstorms in Afghanistan all the time, and Iraq there wasn't.
Yeah.
So
it's more difficult. Just period.
Yeah, just everything difficult. The climate was a lot like Texas in Iraq.
Okay.
But in Afghanistan it was like Arizona or something. I mean, it was completely different.
Yeah.
And the sand there was like dust. It wasn't like sand like we see at the beach.
Yeah.
So they call it moon dust.
Over there. So it's everywhere.
It's kind of, it's everywhere, and it blows. It blows really. You step and it just kind of like swirls like on the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's got the same consistency of what you see on your TV, on the top of your TV.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
yeah.
So I'm curious, your experience in Iraq, it sounded like you enjoyed it. So when you heard about Afghanistan, were you kind of excited about Afghanistan
Yeah,
in the
cause
beginning?
yeah, I was because when I went to Iraq, I had just 2 months, and then we got deployed.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know those guys, and we all got along. But when I went to Afghanistan, I had known them already a year and a half. So I
Yeah.
built relationships. I was like, I'm going with my friends. We're gonna
Okay.
go to war, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
show you everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like the team leader, So
What was your rank at that point?
I was E4.
E4.
I
Okay.
was E4, and we just didn't have a two squad leaders. We just
Yeah.
had, so we two E5s. It was just me.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be promoted in Afghanistan.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I know 9/11. It's interesting. There were so many people that joined the military in 9/11. So many. What was it? Did you have anybody in your family that was military?
Just my uncle.
It's right. You told me about your uncle, and he was what? Army? What was he?
He was Air Force.
Air Force.
He was smart.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a smart one. where you were in too, right?
No.
No? Oh, you weren't? Oh.
No, my father was in. My father was in. But it's always funny, like when I hear people and when they talk about Army or Air Force, that's it's like, oh, well, the Air Force is, those are the smart
chair
guys. Or
force.
the chair force.
Yeah.
Yeah. It always cracks me up. My dad was Army. He was 23 years in the Army.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so what was it about 9/11 that really solidified that your decision to say, I'm going in? What was it? Like, was there a moment, like a defined moment where you're like, I'm going in the military?
Yeah.
And thank you for your service.
Oh,
I mean, it's amazing. But I'm curious about what was that, that moment. What was it?
Well, we just spent a year just watching the footage just fall for a year.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over. And I had people around me talking about people jumping out of the buildings and stuff. And so that's just kind of like, that full year of just being programmed in my brain, it just ticked me off so bad. And then this other religion I never heard about, Islam or whatever, coming and do that stuff. I was like, that's not right. So I was like, yeah, get even and just serve my country. And if I don't go, who's going to go? But
Yeah.
none of my cousins or uncles other than, that one uncle had gone and he went during peacetime. So.
Yeah. Wow. I always think back because whenever 9/11 comes, have you been to the museum?
Yes, actually, yeah.
Yeah. How long ago? How long have you been?
I went like right after that tower was the new tower.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
right,
Yes, the Freedom Tower. Yes, the new one.
I
Yes.
didn't go in the Freedom Tower. We were crunched for time.
Yeah.
But I went in there and
But you saw the fountain, how they did it all.
Yeah.
Like it's moving.
Yeah.
That you go there and it's like you're walking on a very hollow ground.
Yeah.
It's like when I even think about it now, like we got to go to where you could go in that building across and kind of look over it.
Yeah.
Powerful, it's powerful.
And it's huge too. It's
Yes.
those buildings, like the amount of space that it covers is just, I couldn't imagine those things being there for all these years, seeing them. They're still in some movies, you still see them, and I'm just like, oh, Twin Towers are there.
Yeah.
So
now we're back in Afghanistan, and how long were you in Afghanistan before the injury?
Well, I was supposed to be there a year and a half.
Okay.
But I only got to serve 4 months because right before my mission, I'd gotten real sick and I'd gotten anxiety and just not feeling well.
Mm.
And then my platoon sergeant came over and I was already in the truck. All my stuff was in there. He's like, Lopez, I heard that you weren't feeling good. You're a good soldier. You don't have to go if you don't want to go. And I said, nah, I want to go. I want some Cheetos. So I want to go.
You wanted to go to the other.
I wanted to go to the other fob to
Yeah.
get, because we were out in the field for a long time. So
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I didn't know what God's voice sounded like. So I feel like he was trying to warn me not to go.
Yeah.
But I just went.
Yeah.
And then, so I was there. We were just all talking. And usually I'm driving because I'm a truck driver.
Yeah.
But the Taliban had blown up all our vehicles, or Al Qaeda or whatever, who was ever there.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't driving at that moment.
Where
And
were you in the truck? What type of truck was this?
it's called an AMRAP.
AMRAP. Okay.
AMRAP. It's a it's like if a semi truck and a Humvee had a baby.
Okay.
Like that's
okay.
what it looked like.
Okay. Yeah. And where were you in the vehicle? And were you in the passenger?
I was a passenger. I was like in the middle of the vehicle.
So there were 3 people going across?
Yeah, there was where we sitting right in front of each other,
Okay.
like kind of we're sitting now.
Got it. Okay.
And then
you're sitting across from each other.
We're sitting across. So
okay.
There was 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Got it.
And then a gunner, and then and then the driver, and then the commander. Yeah.
Yeah. And nothing on that. Okay, how many times had you done that trip?
From that fob doing it to the same fob,
Yeah.
maybe like 10 times.
You've done it 10 times before this.
But this particular time, I was not driving at all. So I was just chilling.
Okay.
Which had never happened. I never, ever not driven. And the, 3 years I'd been serving, I'd always driven.
Wow.
So the one time I'm not driving.
Yeah. And do you think it would have made a difference?
Maybe I would have. Maybe I would have seen something, or But they're good at what they do. So 30 minutes in, I'm just going down the road, and then just an explosion. The vehicle lifted off the ground, and it hit, and then it knocked me out.
Yeah.
My arm got caught in the hatch actually to get out.
Okay.
Got caught in the hatch. The vehicle catches on fire. I got 2 or 3 rounds strapped to my chest. They're basically plastic grenades. And then I wake up. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here. I'm on fire.
Yeah.
And so, and these things are made out of plastic, so I better get out. And so I saw some feet walk in. This guy just starts tugging on me, and he was just like, Lopez, if I keep pulling, I'm gonna break your arm. I don't care. Rip me in half. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just get me out of here.
Yeah.
So he was there pulling, and then he had to get some other guys. And so he got some other guys, and then he pulled me out. And then they put me on the ground. They cut off all my clothes. And then they said, they had the medic come. They carried her over to me, and she had one broken ankle and one sprained ankle because the force broke going with it.
Wow.
Yeah, so my ankle to this day on my right side, it doesn't move.
Okay.
And so so it broke her ankle. So they carried it over to me, and then she started working on me, and she's like, I can't do this. And I was like, what's the first step of evaluating a casualty? It's breathing, right? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay. What's the next step? She's like,
wait, time out. You're helping her?
Yes. Because she had saved a lot of lives already.
Yeah.
But she had never been in the same vehicle that this happened to, so she was in shock.
Yeah.
She felt the heat from the flames and stuff.
Yeah.
So so I was walking her through it, and then I was like, okay, stop the bleeding. So she started working on me after that, and she got it together. And then I asked her, I was like, hey, am I gonna die? And she's like, no, you're not gonna die. It's the silliest question that she's ever heard.
She just said it calmly like that?
Calmly, and at this point, this is like probably like 10 minutes later,
Wow.
So they're working on me for a while.
Yeah.
And then I said, hey, can I get some morphine now? She's like, well, I don't have any. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'll just wait. And so
see, this whole time it sounds like you're pretty like aware of what's going on.
oh yeah, very
You're
aware.
fully aware.
Fully aware. And then I was like,
and the burns, everything, you're fully aware, but pain level has to be off the chart, but is this one of those where you're kind of like, there's so much pain that you kind of go into like a numb feeling? Like I'm trying
it's kind of like riding a roller coaster, you just gotta you're strapped in, getting out, just keep going.
Just keep going.
Keep going. And yeah.
Wow.
And so, so I was like, hey, can I get some water? And they're just like, no, you can't get any water because you're going to go into shock. I was like, I don't care what that stupid book says, give me some water, man. I was in Inferno.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, so they gave me a drink of water, and it was the last drink of water I'd have for like 4 months.
Are you serious?
And so, because after that, they put IVs in me and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how I got fed, and that's how I got
You get, yeah.
moisture,
Hydration.
hydration.
Yep.
And so going back, so then, you know, I hear a helicopter coming, and this was 45 minutes later after. So as soon as it happened, they called in, you know, a medevac. So 45 minutes later, and I was just like, is that for me? Is that could be for a general or for whoever? Like, is that a helicopter for me? And
Yeah.
and then it just started spiraling down, and then it popped smoke, and I was like, okay, there's my bird.
Okay.
And so even the blades from the air from the blades, the propeller, you know, just the air, you know, soothed me.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so
you felt like you were safe now.
I felt like this. Yeah, I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah.
And so I'm just there.
And then what happened to everybody else in the car?
So everyone else, the gunner supposedly got thrown 100 yards. I don't know if that's a tall tale or what.
Yeah.
But he got thrown 100 yards, and
he survived.
And he survived. Everyone has back issues, but I was wearing a seatbelt. And so that was kind of my downfall, kind of, you know. And so, I mean, I could imagine being burned like this with back problems too. Like, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
But
the driver, everybody survived.
everyone survived. Yeah. I was the worst off. And so then the helicopter comes, and then they lift me in the air. And then I told the guy, you know, I waited for him to flip all the little switches, and so I couldn't see their eyes. I could just see the bottom of their mouth. And then I was like, hey, can I get some morphine now? And then he's all, sorry, bud, he lost too much blood. I was like, are you serious, man? I will jump out of this helicopter. I see the ground right there. It'll be over right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well, let me. So he talked to the highest ranking person in the helicopter, and was like, let him know it's his funeral. So I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So they prepared my vein. I was like, he's not going to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, there's protocol, you know.
Yeah.
But no, he did it. I was like, that is definitely not saline. And
yeah,
so
you knew.
I knew. And then they knocked me out, and they woke me up at a little cash hospital, casualty assessment, something, I don't know. And then I looked down, and my stomach is completely open. And so I was just looking around the room. I was like, is this normal? Like, what's going on? And they said, oh, you're fine. It's fine. They're like, what president? Who's the president? What country you're in? What year is it? Those are 3 questions they asked me.
Okay.
And I answered them. I was like, they're like, we're just seeing if you're bleeding in your brain, and we're seeing if you're bleeding in your stomach.
And they had it open.
They had it open. And so, and then I was like, okay, well, if I'm fine, I was like, I know I said something funny.
Yeah.
And then they said, all right, you're going over the big blue, right?
Okay.
And it's like over the ocean.
Yeah.
Or the pond or so whatever.
Yeah.
And so
were you already on the plane at this time?
No.
Okay,
I
got
was
it.
at
You're
the
about
Cash
to.
Hospital.
Got it.
I was in
Okay.
Afghanistan still.
Yeah.
And then they sent me to Germany. I was completely unconscious there.
Okay.
And then Germany didn't want to release me because they wanted me to stay there because they could charge the U.S. government more money. And then so the team here in San Antonio was like, no, we're going to go get him. So they went over there. They got me.
Wow.
Supposedly I died in the air. I don't know. That's what the PA told me, but he saved, you know, a lot of people. He's like, I think you died in the air, but
yeah.
I was like, okay, whatever. So then they brought me here to San Antonio.
Yeah.
And they kept me medically induced for a while.
Yeah.
And they woke me up for little things here and there, and then I saw my family, and then they finally really woke me up when Hurricane Ike was blowing through Houston.
Yeah. Because they thought they might have to move you. Did they think you were gonna have to move you or what?
No, they just I went to they call it the fourth floor. Fourth floor. That's what you're awake there.
Yeah.
And when you can regulate your own body temperature and stuff and you're healed up enough.
Yeah.
So I was like, could you wait one more day, to wake me up? One more day. That's all I need. And so I saw the palm trees bending in the wind, and I saw, the skies were black and it was raining, kind of like today.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they, and then at that moment, I stopped believing in God at that moment.
Huh. So up to that point, did you feel like, before you got in the military, did you go to church? Like, what was that relationship like prior to this happening?
I grew up in the church. My grandfather was a pastor. My stepdad was went to the prison ministry. My mom was a minister, young ladies. My dad, lived right next. My parents got divorced. So my real dad, he lived right next door to a Catholic church.
Yeah.
So we were over there all the time, and so I thought it was cool, but at that moment I was like, this is this cultural thing. I traveled the world. I've been to the sandbox.
Yeah.
I seen the other side. No, and so I was like, this is just a cultural thing. I was like, God's not real. And so I started, so I thought, right? And so I started putting all my faith and trust in doctors and psychologists and social workers. And I thought, they're the ones that are here. They're the ones making me feel better. And I'm going to put my faith and trust in them.
Yeah.
They started letting me down. And they're great at what they do. And I'm standing here today by them and by, God's grace too.
Yeah.
But they're not God by any means. And so I was like, they're just people. Oh, they're just trying to figure this out. I was like, okay, well, if they're not God, maybe I'm God. So I started putting my faith and trust in myself. And I was like, okay, they last about a week,
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, if they're not God and I'm not God, I was like, what has always been there for me? What has never let me down? What has always made me feel better? It was prescription pills and alcohol, substance. And so I don't think those things are bad if you don't abuse them and deify them. And that's what I was doing. So I started overdosing every day and drinking more than I should. And, Jesus turned water into wine. I still take an aspirin or, Tylenol, whatever I want. But I was, abusing them. And, no one knew how much was too much.
Yeah.
Because no one had survived with injuries like mine, like in history, like past wars.
Yeah.
So it was not something that they knew, how much was too much. So I get 90 pills at one time, and that's just one. And I get 90 pills of another. And so I just I got a bottle full of pills I could just take. So I was already under the influence. So I was just taking more than I should. And I didn't know. I feel a little pain. I just I'll take this for that. And so one night I had taken a lot. And
was this hydrocodone,
codeine?
I
had hydrocodone, Vicodin, Percocet, Zoloft, probably some Ambien or whatever. I mean, I was just my go-to was Benadryl. And I didn't know I had allergies. I was like, this makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
Because I had allergies, I didn't know. But I would overdose on that too.
Wow.
And so one day I took too many, and I told myself, I was like, what do you take today? And I was like, I took this, I took that. I was like, dude, you could die tonight. You took that. I was like, if there's a heaven, I should go there because I'm a good person, because I serve my country, and because I'm not as bad as so and so or whatever.
Yeah.
And so and by my own reasoning, I had this works based religion that I created, and so then I fell asleep, and when I fell asleep, it was like this warm blanket over me, and it was just blackness. And I knew I just didn't fall asleep because I was trying to move and get up, and I couldn't. My heart started slowing down, and my breathing started getting really hard to breathe. And so I was like, where am I? What is this? What's going on? And then it was, I couldn't see the hand in front of me. I couldn't see nothing. And then I saw an orange pinhole of light, and I started traveling down. I had this falling sensation. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to this light. And I got closer and closer and closer. Next thing you know, I was smack dab in the middle of hell. It's a hurricane of fire blowing all around me. And then there was these entities dancing around an altar, and this lady that was levitating. And then they pulled me without even touching me. I was digging my heels in the ground. And the first thing I felt was the hatred. Hatred in hell was like a tangible thing. It was like an aerosol. It was like a fog. It was like just a substance, right? You could bottle hatred in hell.
You could feel it
if you wanted to. Have you ever felt like, man, these people don't like me? Have you ever felt that way?
Yeah, you've been in situations for sure. Yeah,
imagine a million times over.
Yeah, it'd be awful.
Pressure. It was the worst part about it.
Yeah,
because like I didn't do anything to anybody. Or why did they hate me? And so that was hatred. And next thing I felt was the heat. So I know what being on fire on earth feels like. It'll hurt in different parts of your body as it's destroying your skin. Yeah, we are carbon-based life form. There's chemical reactions happening, right? But when it burns off your skin for a while, it burns off your nerves. So you don't feel the flames. The flames actually feel like icy hot. They don't even feel that bad. Wow. It feels like cold almost. Yeah. Because you don't have any nerves. You don't have nothing, nerves. There's nothing to feel it. Yeah. But when you're being burned alive in hell, it's like someone sticking needles in and out of your body, like all over, like getting stung by bees all over, like ants, like acid, like being dipped in acid. That's the only way I can describe it. Yeah. And just a constant pain. You can't get used to it. And when you're being burned alive on earth, you can get used to it after a while. Yeah. But when you're being burned alive in hell, you can't get used to it. Yeah. It's just, you're just constant agony. Oof. And so those are just two. And then the hopelessness was absolutely crippling too. Yeah. It was really bad. And so I knew I was the reason why I was there. Somehow I knew I was the reason why I was there. It was completely preventable. All I had to have done on this life is put Jesus Christ as the Lord of my life. Right? Romans 10:9 says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Right? Yeah. I said, yeah, Jesus is God, right? But I never made him Lord of my life. Yeah. I never surrendered. I always thought I could do it on my own. Yeah. I thought I'm a good person. If I ever lied before, I'm a liar, right? If I ever stolen anything, a pencil, a penny, a quarter, if I ever took anything that's not mine, I'm a thief. Yeah. Right? If I ever looked at a woman with lust, I'm an adulterer at heart. That's what Jesus said. Yeah. Right? He said, if I ever hated anyone, Jesus said, it's like murder. Yeah. So I'd broken every single one of his 10 commandments, thinking that I'm a good person. Yeah. End up in hell. And I knew it was forever. And so all this, I'm processing all this for about 30 seconds to a minute. It wasn't that long. Okay. I was just, I fell down, felt the hatred, the heat, and the hopelessness. And I could see like there was no way out. There's no way to get out. Yeah. And I was like, this is forever. And then that gargoyle dude pulled me without even touching me, and I just woke up. And then I was crying. Let's be honest. I was crying. I was like,
and were you in the hospital at this time?
No, I was at home.
You were at home.
I was at home overdosing every day. Wow. And so this one particular
How old were you at this point?
24 24.
24. Married, not married?
Married.
Married. Okay.
Yeah, 2 kids. And
Wow.
so then the next day I went to talk to my doctors and psychologists and social workers and asked them what it was that I saw and I felt. And they said, oh, it's just PTSD. Don't worry, it happens to everyone. And I said, okay, I like your answer.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I should have talked to a pastor or a priest, but I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. And so after that, I got divorced and I lived a very debaucherous life. Okay. Relationships, and to say that much, right?
Yeah.
And not married,
Yeah.
And so I lived like that for about a year and a half. And watching stuff on the internet, it shouldn't be,
Yeah.
going to clubs, starts with going to those types of clubs too. And so I just was not living a good life. And then one day I like getting surgeries because if I got a surgery, I have to be at formation.
Yeah.
And so
Because you were still active duty at
I was
this
still
time?
active duty.
Okay.
And I was just in the Warrior Transition Battalion.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I need to get something done. So I just get something done. And so it would be a month off.
Mm.
And so I was just like, hey, I need to get them done. So I'd get it done. And then one day they're going to put this tissue expander medical device underneath my skin, on my back, and they're going to add
For a
fluid.
skin graft?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
for
gonna
skin
cut
grafts,
off
yeah.
this side of my face on my right side.
Yep.
And then they're going to put it there. And so they put the medical device and they add fluid into it every week.
Yep.
And it's just expanded. And excuse me. So they put that thing in there, and then I started bleeding internally immediately.
Whoa.
And the same doctor that helped me with my hand, because my hand was like kind of fused together.
Yeah.
The same doctor that was going to do that, plastic surgeon. And then when I started bleeding internally, they said, well, let's just give him some blood. Maybe the bleeding will stop. Well, they gave me 4 pints of blood. And the last pint of blood, I received 108-degree fever. So as an adult, because kids can have
108 is bad.
But as an adult, 105 to 108 will kill you or give you brain damage.
Oof.
So I was, went from complete chaos in the Methodist ICU, on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Chaos, right?
Yeah.
And shaking. I couldn't. He had ice packs on me, and then my mom was there, and they said, well, his veins collapsed, so we can't give him an IV. We can't do nothing for him. And it went from complete chaos, just like quiet and still. And then I was like, I couldn't move again. I was like, where am I? What is this? Right. I was still in the hospital though.
Mm-hmm.
And these 3 entities came out of the shadows just harassing me and saying they're going to drag me to hell. That's why they hate me. And I almost got away and all that stuff. And an angel came out of the ceiling, a little tornado. Like immediately. They came out, started harassing me. Then an angel popped out of the ceiling. He looked like Stone Cold Steve Austin with Fabio hair.
Wow.
Yeah. And he looked like, I guess like almost like He-Man too. Like silver armor with gold outlining. But his sword was like 2.5 feet wide with these ornate designs, like Arabic, tribal, Celtic looking designs, like out of this world designs, like a metal Christmas tree topper.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about swords. I was like, why would a sword have holes in it? Ask Google.
Yeah.
ChatGPT wasn't invented yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's to make it lighter. Have you seen like some of those? Like I think it's like the K bar that has has the lines in it, right? Well, that same thing, same concept, right? But I was like, all right, what significance of the sword with holes? Well, the word of God is the sword of the spirit.
Yeah.
And it applies to everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so the designs, Celtic, Arabic, tribal, I'm just an artist, so that's just, I just try to make connections and stuff. And so that's what I came up with. And God's word is applicable to everyone.
Yep.
And so he came in and he hit the biggest guy in the room, and then just I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, it's all true, it's all real. Angels are real, demons are real, hell is real.
Yeah.
Also, heaven must be real. I want to go there. What do I gotta do? I thought I was a Christian. Thought I was saved. I sang in the church. I did vacation Bible school.
Mm-hmm.
I did all these things. And then she's like, "Well, that doesn't mean you're a Christian just because you do those things. You know, you need to give your life to the Lord." And I know I hadn't been at that moment.
Yeah.
I was living, like I said, a very, you know, debaucherous, lustful, angry, life.
Yeah.
And so I had to get burned, crushed, set on fire, overdose on medication, um, nearly drowned in the Guadalupe
Mm.
to get me on my knees.
Mm.
And I was there on the metal gurney with ice packs and everything, just like, I surrender, Lord, I surrender.
Wow.
So I did, and I didn't know if that was it, because my veins collapsed and I had 108. I didn't know. So I was like, I got to get saved right now.
Yeah.
And for me, I asked the Lord of my life, and that was, my life's been good. Some people accept Christ and the head gets chopped off, but for me, I accepted Christ, and he has just transformed everything about me. And I'm not perfect by any means. Like,
nobody is.
Nobody ever will be till you take your last breath. But yeah, he has completely changed everything about me.
That's stinking awesome. That's awesome, Mario. I mean, obviously, you don't want people to go through what you went through.
No.
Right? You don't want anybody to go through that.
No.
And I, one of the things that I was interested in is how did you deal with the adjustment of going from, who you were before Afghanistan, and then now you're in, when you were at BAMSI in that unit, because I know a lot of our soldiers ended up over at the BAMSI unit. I actually did a tour there, and I remember just walking through. There weren't very many soldiers there at the time, but where you practice getting in and out of car. They had the simulators and the different things. How did you go through that adjustment during that period of time to know that life was going to be very different from before Afghanistan?
Yeah, just a lot of talking through things. I remember, lamenting to my mom, I'm not a man anymore. And she's like, yes, you are. You're just a man that needs help right now. And so just talking through and just figuring out, what a man is, and what my purpose is. And before, when I just got out, I thought, as much as pleasure as you can have, that's what the purpose of life was, right? And not killing yourself, because I wanted to end it. Like, I went through, lots of, thoughts and processes of what that would do to my family, what that would do to my country, what that would do, to everyone around me.
Yeah.
And it's just transferring the pain, And so I remember telling my brother, I said, those people that jumped out of the 9/11, out of the buildings, they had a decision. They could be burned up or they could just jump, right? And I was like, I felt like jumping. And he said, I can't tell you I don't know what you're feeling, but if you jump, we're going to miss you. And so I kind of feel like, my brother saved my life just from saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's powerful. I would imagine, Mario, like somebody's listening to this podcast, and they haven't been what you've been through,
right?
But they're struggling, and they're walking in they're in the storm, and they're having the thoughts, and they're having the ideation, they're having all of that. If you were sitting with them right now, what would you tell them?
I tell them, whatever you're feeling at this moment is going to be amplified by 1 billion times if you kill yourself. And then you're going to amplify it not only on yourself, but your family and the rest of society. Because, we could get statistics and we see, this person 22 soldiers a day, decide to take
Right.
their life.
Right.
And this is one of those things that I don't feel like anyone really has an excuse to do. Because if someone does that, what's the last thing you did whenever you did that act? It is a murder. You murdered yourself. The Bible says that our life is not our own.
Yeah.
That God created us. We are conducting a form of idolatry, saying that we're sovereign, that we're God. So, can someone kill themselves and be a Christian? I don't know, because if you know the God of all hope, if you have hope, that Jesus is hope. If you have hope, you're not going to do that. He's going to make a way. You're not going to do that. I'm not God, so I don't know. But from everything I see, and I just don't feel like anyone has an excuse, really.
Yeah.
No matter what they've been through, there's people that have been, molested in pits and holes, and lived there their whole life, and they come out and they live a good life.
Yeah.
So I'm not God, but everyone's situation is different. But I just feel like it's not wrong to tell people, you might go to hell if you do that.
Yeah.
No matter what religion you are,
Yeah.
But I believe that Jesus Christ is the only way to get to heaven. But like, there's just no reason to do that.
Yeah. There's somebody cares.
Somebody cares.
Somebody cares. Whether you if somebody's walking through that, they got to know that somebody cares, right? Like God cares, Jesus cares, your family. I mean, they care. That you're right. The aftermath of that is so tragic. And we, we've seen it. I've seen it, and there's an aftermath of that just is really, really, really painful. And so, when you were in those moments, the biggest, you're telling me family was a big part for you to help you through that in that part of your life. Was it family? What else?
Yeah, family and well, because I had two little kids. They were like 5 and 7.
Yeah.
And so I just couldn't imagine. And plus, too, I already know what dying feels like. I wasn't interested in that, anytime soon either. But that's what, like, because I was, I was wanting to do MMA. I was gonna be either, when I got out, I was gonna either be an MMA fighter or a stripper, a male stripper. That's what I was gonna do. So.
That's hysterical. I love it. Yeah, I love it. So were you fighting already before that? Were you doing any training?
Yeah, I was. There was one guy in our unit. He was an MMA guy, and he's just like, dude, you'd be great.
Really?
And I would hit the bag, and there'll be special forces dudes with arms as like big as my head, and they just stop, and I'm like, what are y'all looking at? Like,
I love it.
And because I would have been like a lightweight or whatever, but still, like, I just enjoyed it, and I was quick, and I just enjoyed it. And I went to private school, and that's all we did was play fight all the time, because we didn't have any other.
Boxing? Did you do a lot of boxing too?
No, just grappling and stuff, and I was in Taekwondo when I was younger too, so I just really enjoyed that. But, all that stuff, fighting and all that stuff, compared to the spiritual world, when you don't even have autonomy of your own body, we're just goldfish.
Yeah.
We're just roosters. It's just a cockfight. Like, it's like not even, we're nothing compared to that. So, when Jesus, what he did, that was real spiritual strength, what he did.
Yeah.
When people, punching him and ripping out his beard, and he just said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do.
Yeah.
That's some real strength right there.
Yeah, for real. For
Yeah.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Now, I fully believe who you marry matters,
Uh-huh.
and I know that after this experience, and seeing this angel come down, and your life begins to change. So, walk me through that meeting your current wife. Walk me through that because that had to be a massive change for you when y'all met. Tell me about that, and what's your wife's name?
Danielle.
Danielle. So walk me through that when you guys meet and how that all came about.
Yeah, so I started painting because I had my kids. I'd see them every other weekend, and then my friends all worked and stuff. So the only time I had was just the weekends, right?
Yeah.
And so during the week, I was just like, there's only so much TV you can watch, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, I want the time to pass. So what could I do? Well, I like woodworking before.
Yeah.
In high school, and my stepdad was a woodworker, and then my dad was a mechanic.
Yeah.
So I like working with my hands, and I was like, I don't if I do woodworking, I don't want to cut off anything else of my body, like it's like all the wood shop owners that have wood shop guys, the teachers, they have like missing fingers and stuff.
Right.
I don't want to do that, and so I was like, well, I was like, oh, I could paint. So I started painting, and then my family would see what I do, and I just hang out on this big giant wall that I had, and they liked it, and I was like, okay, well, you saved my life, or you washed my house, or you did my dishes, whatever, have it. And then my friends would come over, and then they'd invite their friends, and I was like, well, I don't know you, so I'm going to charge you,
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, that's $100 or whatever. And then I talked to my doctors and psychologists, and then they were like, what are you doing these days? Well, I had an iPhone, so I just say, yeah, this is my painting. They're like, I want one of those. I was like, are you serious? They're like, yeah. And then so I was like, okay. And so I started telling everybody what I was doing.
So it kind of started out just as a way to pass time in therapeutic. Was it a therapeutic aspect?
And pass time and make a little cash every now and again, and just whatever to see what happens. And then one of my social workers called a newspaper.
Yeah.
And so they did a piece on me, and then so I'm feeling like I'm a real artist, really working artist and stuff. And then I meet my wife.
Was she at one of the art shows? Or?
No, she was just a mutual friend. So my best friend, she was in the military, and her husband passed, and so we just hang out. And then her best friend, since she knew him since third grade, was in the military too. So we had these two battle-hardened, veteran women in fashion school at St. Mary's.
Okay.
And so they're so my best friend is Danielle's best friend's friend. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of confusing myself. But anyway, so we're just all hanging out, and then so my friend said, you should meet my BFF. She's a scientist, and she likes all this stuff. And because it was like not the Y2K, the 2012, all the Mayan calendar stuff. And so we were talking about all that stuff, and then I was like, yeah, she sounds cool. And then I finally got to meet her, and then it was my wife's friend's birthday, and my wife threw a karaoke party. And so my other friend, Kitty, she's like, hey, you want to go to this party? And I was like, yeah, I guess so. It's Thursday night, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we went, and she was singing to her friend, and I was like, wow, she sounds pretty good. She sounded like Jonah Jett,
Okay.
She sounded, like a punk rock type song. And then they were like, you gonna sing? I was like, I need a couple more of these first. And then so I sang Brad plays the I'm Gonna Miss Her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't know. I'm not a country guy, but it sounds cool.
Country guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to do a little?
Go ahead. Come on, Mario. Let's go. Come on.
Well, I'm gonna miss her when I get home. So I was saying like that. And
Yeah.
then everyone just stopped and they're like, what is this crispy dude over here singing like that? You know? And so everyone stopped what they're doing, and then she's like, "Wow, that was pretty good." And so there's like rolly chairs there.
Yeah.
It was at the Rebar bar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know where you were. Yeah.
And so she slid over to me, and then I slid over here. So she's like, "So you're an artist?" And I was like, "So you're a scientist?" And then just sparks. That was it. And yeah, God definitely put her in my life. And if you think about, like, her and her friend were best friends since 3rd grade. You know, how God orchestrated everything. And I tell her all the time, she doesn't believe me. But I was like, you're the only woman on earth, you know, that could ever help me and could love me and just be as perfect as you are. And she's starting to believe me now a little bit. I mean, it's been 13 years, but yeah.
Y'all been married 13 years?
13 years, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
This April, yeah.
That's awesome. And so that, I would imagine she really, I mean, having a relationship like that after everything that you've gone through has to really give you confidence, gives you like, man, God is good. You have kids now together. How many kids do you guys, you and Daniela, right?
Yeah,
Daniela?
Yeah. We have 2, and one's in heaven right now. Had a miscarriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
2, a boy and a girl?
A boy and a girl.
What are their ages now?
9 and 6. My son just turned
man,
6.
that's fun.
Yesterday.
That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah,
That's such a fun age. That's such a fun age.
Yeah, he's a hoot, man.
Now,
both of them.
Now, tell me about this book that you guys wrote. I want to make sure that we share that with everybody.
Yeah.
Tell me about the book that you wrote. It's very powerful book about faith and about kind of an apologetics. Talk a little bit about that.
So it's called How I Know, a story to strengthen your faith. It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
So we had before we had babies, we would go to churches all over Texas and sometimes all over the country. I mean, we'd travel everywhere, and just anyone said yes, right? We'd go travel, and back then, like, a lot of veteran stuff was like popping off, and oh, well, you're a vet. Oh, you believe in this? Let's go. You know, like so we would travel all over, and then a lot of people say, you need to write a book. You need to write a book, and then so I just sat down and I gave my wife 3 pages.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, write a book. She's like, this is not enough.
Here's all I got.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And so she started interviewing, you know, my friends and family and doctors and stuff, and trying to get the most out of it. So that's what I use now. So I'm usually on the road by myself now. You know, because she got to stay home and they got school and stuff. So yeah, this book is about my story, everything that you heard. There's more in there.
Sure.
Because, you know, usually it takes me like 2 hours to say everything and say it right. But so you didn't get the elevator speech, but you got something.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely powerful, you know, and I appreciate, obviously, telling the story is reliving the story.
Yeah.
So talk about a little bit about that. Like when you talk about it now, does it, because when you're reliving it, is now kind of like, I don't want to say painful, but is it almost like that pain is turned into purpose? Like, how do you reconcile retelling that story? Because for some, they can't retell it. If I feel like your candor and your willingness to be open about it, your vulnerability is very like raw and real. But so how is it? How did that come about to where you could just share it and you're reliving it as you're sharing it, but doing it in a way that you just feel like you have a message behind it? I can feel it.
Yeah. So my motivation, even though how painful it is, you know, the flames, I can feel the flames.
Yeah.
You know, now you'll probably get some waterworks going, but you know, seeing those images, you know, what, did I go to hell? I don't know, but I saw and felt things I never felt before. You know, it was a vision or it was a nightmare or what, but it is real to me. Mm-hmm. It transformed me. So, you know, I still see that stuff, right? like after I got saved, all that spiritual stuff stopped. But I'm saying I still see it in my mind,
Sure.
and it's just like frightening. And the spiritual world is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Because if someone's ever seen a cup move across the table for no reason, or seen a door slam or apparition, one person in all of human history has seen that, then there's definitely something else after,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And many people have seen throughout history. And so, if we were just biological machines, like science wants us to believe, then the Frankenstein story would be true.
Yeah.
We just get a heart, get some blood, get some brains, shock them like a car,
Yeah.
and it'd come back to life. But we're not.
No.
There's something missing. There's a spirit, right?
Yeah.
So, it all that, what I experienced. 'Cause I even tell, because I help out with youth too and stuff. I tell the youth kids, I said, just because you read somebody went to hell or went to heaven or whatever, don't believe it. You gotta measure it up against the word of God. I was like, I don't even believe my own self. I was like, compared to God's word, if it's not God's word,
Yeah.
then it's not real.
Yeah.
So experiences don't equal the truth. God's word is the only truth that we have.
Yeah.
And so perception, is not reality.
Yeah. Especially with
the
all the
time.
social that they're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. With
Yeah.
everything right in their face.
Yeah.
So, like your art. Oh, go ahead, please.
But yeah, so sorry, I long-winded.
No, it's okay.
So my motivation is, as painful as it is, it's because I want people to know that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Yeah.
And so, going through all these things and rehashing it out is just because I want people to know that there is an eternal consequence for everything we say, act, and do, everything.
Yeah.
And unless we know Christ, then we could spend eternity somewhere else where we don't want to be.
Yeah. That's powerful, Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's powerful. And
Praise God.
I knowing the message, right? Like understanding the heart behind it, right? And just because what you've been through, even as painful as those stories are, I can sense just I have to share this.
Yes.
Like even when we talk on the phone, I can sense that, and I love it, and I can see God's working. God is working through that, and it's powerful, and I'm glad you're here to share it. So the art now, so you've got an event coming up, and we
Yes.
want to invite people to it
thank
because I
you.
think it's
Man.
really, really cool. Big art event. Talk about your art event that's coming up.
Yeah, so with my injury, I got a lot of attention, right? And so I started noticing other veterans along the way. And I was like, how much are you charging for that? Oh, that you're charging peanuts for that. I'm
Yeah.
like, I gotta do something to help you all out. I gotta share the limelight, right? And so I started throwing these little art events with other veterans.
Okay.
And then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now there's a lot of 501c3s that are shutting their doors. There's 3 that I personally know
Yeah.
that have shut their doors because the war is pretty much over, right? And so a lot of these funds are drying up too. They're gonna convert it to something else or the economy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I said, well, let me start this expo, right? And I
Mhm.
found someone who's done expos before. It's basically an art show, but it is a concert and a trade show
All
So,
together.
all together.
That's cool.
So it's a festival. I call it Freedom Isn't Free.
Yeah.
It's a one day.
Freedom isn't free. I love
Freedom
it.
Isn't Free festival.
What's the date?
It's July 19th,
19th. That's right.
2025.
Yep. Okay.
And it starts at 11 to 5.
Okay.
And then we're going to have a 2-time Grammy winner, Jeffrey Steele, singer-songwriter too.
Wow.
He's going to be there. Three Beards is going to be there. The gentleman, he plays the saxophone.
Yeah.
His name is Johnny Sax.
Okay.
And then another local DJ is going to go be playing too.
And your artwork's going to be there.
My artwork,
How many
And
other artists?
Probably about 20 to
20
30
artists?
veteran
Wow.
artists. And then we're going to have some other VSOs. Frontline Strong's going to
Yeah.
go. Pink Berets, Wounded Warriors going. Call Sign Muffin is going. Bill House, Forward Arts is going. And New Century Art Guild, my 501c3 that I work with.
Okay, so you have a foundation that you work with,
Yeah.
or is it your foundation?
I work with it.
Yeah. What's it called?
The New Century Art Guild. They're
Okay.
out of Omaha, Nebraska. I've been with them 10 years.
Yeah. Okay. Art Guild.
New Century Art Guild, yeah.
That's cool. And then they're pretty much their goal is to help raise money to help you with your art to sell it. Like what's kind of the background behind that?
So, basically, New Century Art Guild exists to help veterans break into careers in art.
Okay.
To keep them focused on their art and not on other self-destructive things.
Yeah.
And just give them that motivation, that hope, and I believe in it because I went to this one art show that I was with for about 4 years. Yeah. And I look forward to going to that art show because we had some mega donors and I had sell a bunch of art.
Yeah.
And so I want to do that for them too.
Okay.
So New Century Art Guild, we just help veterans break into career in art. That's what we do.
I love it. Now, eventually, you did talk about. I was reading on the website that you want to do digital photography. Have you gotten started? Have you started to get into that digital photography? Is it all painted art?
Well, I'm actually got an associate's in photography.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to go to art professor and them tell me how to do things because I already done it,
Yeah.
So I didn't want them to forget everything
right
about art. I didn't want to hear that. So I was like, well, I'm not, really good in photography. I was like, I'll go to school for that.
Yeah.
And so so I did that and so I just.
But you like art better.
I like them both.
Yeah,
actually, because there's sometimes I don't want to paint that. There's no amount of paint that's going to capture what I saw. Only a photo,
right?
And so I have a couple photos that are like really good.
Yeah,
but it's just I don't know. This expos kind of take all my creative juice, because I'm doing fine, and I have some pieces that I've priced really high. So if no one buys it, fine. If someone buys it, even better.
Yeah.
So
and then how do you make your living now mainly through art? Is that kind of like in speaking? Is that how you pretty much make your living now?
I don't charge anything to speak.
Oh wow!
I don't charge anything.
Not even travel.
So I'm not gonna give you an invoice later. Okay.
Yeah. Why? So you don't when you when you went to Dallas, you don't charge
just gas money.
Yeah. Travel fee. Yeah.
Just gas money really, and so I don't get paid. I'm just trying to share the gospel.
That's awesome.
And then I get paid, from the VA. Yeah. So I'm doing fine. We're doing fine. We're doing good.
Mario, that's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. I love that. So, if you were sitting across from a wounded warrior, right? That's struggling, right? That's just they're in that storm of whether it be addiction, they're in that storm whether it be just kind of lost. I mean, I'm sure you've probably had this conversation. Like, what would you tell them right now?
I would tell them you can check yourself in somewhere, and you need to get around the clock care. Yeah. For one, if you're really struggling, now if they're not that bad, then I'd tell them, hey, there's consequences for everything. Yeah, what you're going through is bad, but like, how did you get there? And let's talk about it. Yeah. And but I'm like the worst. I'm the worst at that. Like, I mean, because what I've been through, I just don't have a lot of sympathy, which I should. So that's why a lot of like, those types of care, they're just like, keep Mario away because he's not like. I was like, you don't look like me. Shut up.
But you know what's interesting though, Mario, is that I would imagine some of these soldiers that they've been through it, right?
Yeah.
If you come at them at an angle where you come super soft, that angle may not work with a
Right.
lot of them. You almost got to come from a like, hey, I've been there,
Yeah.
and so I would imagine that you're going to speak to a certain soldier, you're going to speak to a certain person that's really going to be able to go, okay, tell me what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Tell me
think
what I
so.
need to hear. And I would say to you, don't be afraid to be the Mario that somebody needs.
Oh, true.
Right? Don't be afraid to be the Mario that somebody needs to hear, because I think I can tell you have a sense of humor, and I can tell that you're very blunt also at the same time, and that's maybe exactly what somebody needs to hear in that moment. The realness, and that may be exactly the messaging that God has blessed you with,
Maybe
to
so.
share with people.
Yeah. I would think, because we're yelled at in basic training AIT, like kill, 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 and then we go and sit down in this nice, quiet little office and like, tell me about your feelings today.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not what they need. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine you've probably had certain people where you just knew that you talked to, that you just knew that you just had to speak to them a different way. You couldn't the cliches were not going to get through.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about you. When you were in those moments of despair, prior to your current wife, when you were in those moments of despair, were the cliches really gonna get you to the other side? For when you were in your darkest moments.
I don't know. I was just had a mental fog of substance and stuff. Like I was always like just waiting for the weekend type thing.
Yeah.
And I just everything that I seen, I knew that there's something else, and so as long as I'm not dying, as long as I'm not under a vehicle, pinned down with it being, burning and 2 or 3 rounds strapped to my chest in a hostile environment with, Afghanis trying to kill me or Taliban, it's a good day.
It's a good day.
So
Yeah, it's a blessing.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that is a blessing. So, what would you give? What kind of advice would you give to a soldier? Maybe that's just now coming home. Maybe something's happened. They've been through it. They've got injuries, and their body is not the same. It'll never be the same. What do you tell those soldiers when you're seeing them and they're in that moment where, and I know you were in a medically induced coma for like what was it, 2 months?
like 4 months.
4 months,
yeah.
right? So they're waking up, and you have the ability to kind of speak to them, like, and what would you say?
I would say get to know God, find a pastor or priest, because that's the only thing that's real. And that's the first thing. Get your spiritual house in order first.
Yeah. Rely on something deeper than just the doctors.
This is all temporary.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's powerful. Have you had those conversations with some soldiers?
Oh yeah, a bunch.
Yeah.
A bunch. And it's pretty scary seeing them react this way, but there's only so much someone can do.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And so your church family now, New Braunfels, and we met because of Jacob.
right.
And Jacob, y'all go to church together in
Yes.
New Braunfels?
Yeah.
Okay. How long you been going there? What's the church called? Let's
It's
give
called
a shout out.
Freedom Fellowship.
Freedom Fellowship.
Yeah.
Awesome.
New Braunfels.
How long you been going there?
About 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. I mean, you serve with the kids. Do you do that?
Yeah, I serve the youth group on Wednesdays, and then I go to a couple nursing homes that I go to.
Okay.
And then that I give like a Bible study to.
Yeah.
And then I'm not patting myself on. I'm just telling you what I do.
Yeah.
And then once in a while I'll do the children's ministry.
Yeah.
And I'm on the Watchman team too, like
Okay.
security or whatever. So
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So getting to that, as a father, I love this question, right? How has this experience shaped the way you parent, shape the way, you live your life with your kids? How has that shaped you with what you've gone through in your life?
Yeah.
Your parenting.
Well, so I have my oldest son, because I have my daughter's the oldest, and then I have my son is 19,
Yeah.
and then my daughter is my other daughter is 9, and then my son is 6.
Yeah.
So my oldest daughter, she's saved and she's been baptized and all that. Her husband is a Christian too, so they're fine. My son, he came to me because he was living with his mom for a while, and they came to me, and he was an atheist, and I was like, give me a week, man. Come on, give me a week. I was like, I'll pay you to watch these videos with me, man. Like,
Yeah.
and so he's like, okay, and so then we took about 2 weeks, and then I was like, what do you think? And we're just sitting in the car, and he's just like, there's a God, yeah, can't deny it,
Yeah.
and so that's. And he's doing good. He's in New York, so he's coming back
Okay.
to Texas. Thank God. I was like, been praying,
Yeah.
and want my son back, and then my other two, they just love the Lord. They just say the most amazing little prayers and stuff, and it's just really cool to see a child grow up in the church and get to start a relationship with Jesus that young.
Yeah. It's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
And I tell him, no matter what, I was like, I'm your dad. I'm not perfect. I was like, Jesus is perfect.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus is way nicer than me.
Yeah.
I promise you that. So, a lot of people think that Jesus is here to take away your fun, and he is the author of fun.
Yeah.
Like, he is so fun, and he just breaks us free from all chains.
Yeah.
Like, he is, like, I have way more fun now than I have ever had. I'd rather have my worst day with Jesus than my best day without him.
Yeah. 100%.
That's a cliche right there for you.
Yeah. Well, it's it's truth, right? It's truth. Are you a big book reader? You like to read books?
Damn, honestly, the only book I read is the Bible.
Yeah.
The only thing that I really like to read.
Yeah.
And I read every day.
Yeah.
And there's just so much in there.
Yeah.
And I like watching The Chosen.
I was literally gonna ask you if you've seen Chosen. I was watching it yesterday.
Yeah.
I was literally gonna ask you.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts on Chosen?
Oh, I love it. I know a lot of teachers, don't, not a lot, but some don't like it, but
I
because
find that hard.
How do you not like it?
I don't know how you don't like Chosen. Now, have you seen The House of David?
Yes, I'm addicted to that thing, man. Oh, they have
Soren,
new
have you seen
episodes.
this yet? Okay,
They have
listen.
a new episode. It was at 3 a.m. I was like, I'm tempted to wake up at 3 a.m. and watch it. I was
It comes out tonight at 3 a.m.
No, it
Is
came out.
Oh, last night?
Last night.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Wow.
No. Oh no, because today. Oh yeah, today at 3.
I think it comes out.
Today is
Yeah.
Thursday.
So Friday. It comes. So we'll get to watch it Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I got a podcast in the morning. I was like, I can't.
It's
can't
so
stay-
good. House of David
Dude, it
is
good.
powerful.
Yeah.
They did a really, really good job with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, so Chosen to me, like, do you remember the episode where the guy was paralyzed and he said, "Pick up your mat and walk"? That whole scene.
The ceiling one, or the other one.
The other one where they're by the
brother.
bath.
The brother, yeah.
When the water would stir.
Yeah.
Remember that story where they
Yeah.
hit when he's like, "What's that?"
Bethesda, the post Bethesda, yeah.
That scene is so powerful.
Yeah.
Like they showed it
Yeah.
at CBC.
Yeah.
Ed did a whole message and then he shared that. He got
Yeah.
permission to share. And I remember every time I watch that, I'm just like, whoa, it's powerful.
Yeah.
I think Chosen is It's one of the best, representations, and that in House of David, is powerful as well.
Yeah, I love House of David. I love Chosen. We're gonna go Friday. I think there's a new episode coming out in Chosen.
For Chosen,
out at the movies.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's what my wife said. But
that's really cool. I have to look at that. Now, have you been to Israel?
No.
Okay.
I've never been to Israel because my wife's like, let's go to Israel. Let's go to Israel. I was like, no. I was like, because the Bible says that they're gonna overtake Israel, and I don't want to be there when it happens. and it did happen.
Yeah, Mario.
October 7th. Yeah.
You have to go.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah,
I took my son and I took my wife.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a more difficult time now, right? I get it. But it was one of those monumental breakthroughs in my faith.
Mm-hmm.
Just standing next to the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
Right. Like going to those places where the Via Dolorosa, and I tell everybody if you get the opportunity, go. If you can go with a church group, I think it's even more, right? We went with CBC, but yeah, go.
I think if I go, I might end up enlisting over there or something.
You may end up what?
Enlisting in the army. It's ready
to help out.
And they'd say, yeah, drive that truck right over there. It's fine. Yeah, just drive right. Yeah. There's nothing there.
I tell you, and we were going in and out of a lot of those hot spots. Like we were supposed to go to Jacob in the well, we were supposed to go to that well at that particular time. We couldn't because there were some issues going on, security issues. We got to do a whole church service in Bethlehem during Christmas, which was Mario, gosh. It was powerful.
You went before October 7th?
Oh, yeah. This was in 2022.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was in 2022. I always get the year mixed up. But yeah, 2022, November, we were there for 16 days. It was like a 16-day trip, 10 days in Israel. We did Dubai first. If you've never been to Dubai, Dubai was amazing. But
no,
Israel,
Qatar. I've been to Qatar. Sorry.
Yeah, I just from a faith perspective, Israel just is such a powerful place for your faith, man.
Yeah.
The Bible comes out. So the valley of the shadow of death, like that's a real valley. Like I thought that was figurative.
Yeah.
Like that's literally our bus drove and you can see it. And that was the valley that they would walk when you would walk back and forth when they'd have to go to the temple. They would walk right through that valley, literally through a valley they had robbers and wild animals, and you could see it. So definitely gives a new perspective. So Mario, I really appreciate you being. Last words, what would you like to share? How can people find out more about the Freedom Isn't Free Art Expo? We'll have a link. Is there a website?
Yeah, there's a website.
What's the website?
It's a ncagevent.org.
Okay, excellent.
So NCAG represents New Century Art Guild. So we bought the domain name. So so it's ncagevent.org.
Excellent. So we'll have that. I'll have our videographer put that link down there. Is it like ticketed? Do you buy tickets?
You can buy tickets. So we have a spot for you to buy tickets.
Yeah.
Right, and hopefully everyone's got a calculator. They can do math. They want 5 people. It's gonna be $50, right?
Okay.
So I wanted. Usually my events are like $80 to $100.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I want to do something for everyone. I don't want anyone to excuse they can't go.
Yeah, for sure.
And so the event's $10, and there'll be food, games. There'll be lots of things.
And where's you located? Did you say that?
It's at the Norris Event Center.
Oh, I know Norris. Yeah, that's a great spot.
Yeah.
That's a great spot.
It's a good spot.
Yeah, and it's very central, right? The 10410.
Right.
Yeah, yep, that's a great spot. Well, we're going to promote it, Mario. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you for sharing your story. It's going to impact, as you've impacted so many lives, it's going to continue to impact lives. And definitely it's going to be on YouTube, so you can share this with your kids. I don't know if they watch YouTube, but every time I have somebody on, it's like, make sure you share this with your kids, because it's a powerful way for them to see you, like, having that opportunity to share your story.
Yeah. I will share it, but they already got.
They've seen it.
Yeah, it's like white noise to them.
Yeah,
Like,
You're like, that's famous, but we hear it already. We already know. We already know.
No, I'm not famous, but
well, we appreciate you
Thank
being on the
Tomas.
show, Mario, and appreciate you being on TM3 Impact. Have an amazing day, brother.
Yeah, you too. Thanks
Great
a
to
lot.
meet you.